SH to 554433.
AM 560, The Answer.
We are back on Get Down to Business, and we are chatting with Dr. Hugh Sealy from St. George's University in Grenada. Dr. Sealy was just telling us a little bit about the research that he's been conducting on the impact of climate change on small islands. Fascinating information. But Dr. Sealy, you also were involved in negotiating, in the process of negotiating the Paris Climate Agreement in 2015. So obviously our listeners are inquiring what your reaction was when you saw the news of President Trump announcing that we will be here in the United States one of the only countries in the world not participating in the climate agreement. What was your reaction, Dr. Sealy?
Well, I can't say that we were surprised because the action was telegraphed and it was dragged out over a period of months where the administration seemed to take quite a while to make its mind. But when the decision was taken, I must indicate that I was disappointed. I'm not sure you appreciate how pivotal a role the United States played in us being successful in Paris in 2015. If it wasn't for the United States and China in particular coming to an agreement, well, then the rest of the world would not have followed suit. So the U.S. was absolutely pivotal to us achieving that agreement. And now for the U.S. to indicate that it wishes to withdraw, and it will take a period of years for that procedure to go through, that is disappointing. So the first emotion was that of one of disappointment, but followed quickly by a feeling of resolve that the Paris Agreement is larger than any one country, and that it's an existential issue for us on small islands, and therefore we must press ahead.
And it was a non-binding agreement, meaning the U.S. could set its own parameters. So certainly it was left open to be sort of set on President Trump's terms, but he made a choice to pull out. That said, Dr. Sealy, do you believe that there will be a ripple effect? Do you believe that any other countries will follow suit? In the news, it's been talked about how right now there are essentially two countries that keep being mentioned that they are not. Two other countries, aside from the United States, that will not be participating in the climate agreement. Do you believe that other countries will follow President Trump's lead?
Well, the two countries that are not signatories are Syria because it's war-torn, and Nicaragua because it said that the agreement did not go far enough. As to whether other countries will now follow the U.S., that is a concern. But thankfully, to date, we have not seen that signal. Instead, we've gotten very reassuring signals from countries like the European Union or countries within the European Union, and of course the large emerging countries like China and India in particular have signaled that they will remain steadfast to the agreement. So that's a good sign.
Will the fact that governors and mayors across the United States of America are signing on, they are actually signing on their municipalities, their states, to the climate agreement, and they are saying that we are in, our president is not in, but we are in, does that make the potential, as you said, pivotal nature of the Trump pullout from the agreement less dramatic? Will the impact of mostly Democratic states and cities buying in help to lessen the negative impact of the pullout from this country?
Great question, and I don't have the answer yet. We're all poring over this right now to try and determine what the quantitative impact of the United States withdrawing from the Paris Agreement would be in terms of what the atmosphere is going to see in terms of increased emissions or reduced rate of bringing down emissions. And it really depends, as you said, as to what happens at the state level. If there is an argument, the energy train has already taken, and there's enough momentum behind the issue within the U.S. that it can't be stopped from the federal level. So that's difficult to gauge. There is no doubt, however, that impacts on funding of things like the Green Climate Fund would be immediate and would be significant.
And Dr. Sealy, we've got about a minute remaining. Certainly, as the show focuses on business, jobs, entrepreneurship, certainly the business community's role in this, and of course their feedback and reaction is very, very important. But it's notable that many, I'd say most business leaders were in support of the climate agreement. Is that generally the reaction around the world as well?
Absolutely, and that's absolutely key. That businesses are recognizing the threat that climate change brings. Not only businesses, but the military as well. Your own defense ministry is indicating the same thing, that climate change is a national security issue. I was pleased when President Macron of France made a plea to American businesses. He said, "Come to France." I thought that was telling.
It certainly was telling. Dr. Hugh Sealy, from St. George's University. We appreciate you're obviously a professor in the Department of Public Health and Preventative Medicine. Very, very, very interesting outlook. And again, very, very time sensitive and very, very important to what we're following today. Dr. Sealy, we'd love to have you back on the program to continue the discussion. I hope you will join us. Obviously, you can follow Dr. Sealy's research and identify his op-ed that we talked about earlier in the program. St. George's University's website, sgu.edu. Dr. Sealy, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Coming up after the break, we've got more tips, advice, and information. We'll be right back.
Psst. Hey,